You know, Netflix films get a bad rep. Movies like these are why. So, The Monkey King. Like I just said, Netflix films get a really bad rep, and there's good reason for that. Because most of their films are terrible. I've reviewed many Netflix movies, and very few of them have been good, especially in the animation department. They've had a couple of gems like Trollhunters Rise of the Titans, and in the live-action realm they've had a couple of decent ones like Enola Holmes, but man, most of their shit is just terrible. I bring this up all the time, but Animal Crackers broke me. It was one of the first movies I reviewed on this channel, and it broke me. And Secret Magic Control Agency for a while was my highest viewed video. I'm still not sure how that happened. I'm guessing because I'm one of the few people on the planet that actually saw that movie, but it was terrible. It was stupid. And in their live action department, they're even worse. Eurovision, Thunder Force, Cuties, don't even get me started on that. And, Sweet Girl. I obviously didn't watch Cuties, or I saw reviews of Thunder Force, but I didn't actually watch the movie, but I know plenty about it. But Sweet Girl was one of the dumbest action movies I've ever seen in my life. So, it's no surprise that I never give Netflix films the benefit of the doubt anymore. Same thing with Disney movies, or a lot that comes out of these big companies like Warner Brothers as well. I don't give movies the benefit of the doubt anymore because I have no reason to, because I know they're gonna be garbage. Now, I guess I should actually talk about the movie. Like I said, it's really bad. It's the poor man's Hercules, essentially. It's about a monkey that shows up, like, from inside a rock, I guess. And, I'm still kind of just, like, completely out of it from Blue Beetle, because that one was just, again, it was, like, so apathetic, it made me not give a shit. So it kind of carries over to this, but yeah, a baby monkey shows up inside a rock, I guess, and he's, like, rejected by everybody, so he tries to become one of the immortals, I guess. I don't know much about the mythology. This isn't the first time this type of movie's been made. There are actually a lot of Monkey King movies, but I obviously haven't seen any of them, so I don't really know the lore behind this character or anything. But it's very poorly explained in this movie. A lot of characters, not only are they not given, like, a backstory or a motivation or anything, they're just kind of there. I have no idea. They're barely given an introduction. Like, Lynn, the kid that follows him around, becomes his assistant, despite the twist later on that I'll get into in a little bit. She barely has an introduction. She just kind of shows up out of nowhere. And the same thing with, like, most of the Immortals. They're just kind of there. They don't have an introduction. I don't even know what most of them are. All I know is that they're just some kind of immortal, omnipotent god. That's all I know about these characters. No character has any personality or any depth outside of the two leads. And I guess I should get into those main leads. The Monkey King himself is one of the most unlikable protagonists I've ever seen since Oscar from Shark Tale. Much like Oscar from Shark Tale, this guy is the main villain of the movie. He's an egotistical, annoying fucking brat. And I get that that's kind of the entire point, but he's not even given a character arc or a redemption arc or anything like that. I mean, honestly, it would have kind of annoyed me even more if he was given some kind of redemption arc, because at a certain point, after watching this guy for about 5 minutes, I wanted him dead. But he's just one of the most unlikable pieces of shit I've ever seen put to film. He doesn't care about, and they make a big thing about, his entire motivation, he just wants to be loved, he just wants to be accepted. No, he doesn't. That's ditched after about 5 minutes of the movie. Lynn is better, I guess. She's at least wants to help. Her motivation is that she wants to save her town from a drought. So at least she has an actual motivation that doesn't make me want to just hit her with this stick. And speaking of this stick, the stick's the best character in the movie. It doesn't actually talk, it just kind of makes like some kind of pulsating noise, but it's supposed to be talking. And it's the best character by default, I guess. A lot of the villains just are kind of lame. The Dragon King's, he's not intimidating, and I guess I'll get into the twist here because it involves the Dragon King, and it's the most pivotal part of the Dragon King. It's really his entire point of being in this movie, is that Lynn wants him to bring a drought to her town, or to bring rain to her town to save them from a drought. And the only way he'll do, and again, he makes a deal with her that if she gets the stick from the Monkey King, because he stole the stick from him. Side note, when he does steal the stick, apparently he's able to breathe underwater. I don't recall the last time a monkey was able to breathe underwater, but whatever. But if she gets the stick and brings it back to him, he'll bring a storm to her town to save it, essentially. But once she does give him the stick, he does follow through on his word, technically. If I'm looking off screen, I'm watching a football game back there, so sorry about that. But honestly, I was watching this movie and this game at the same time, and I was having a lot more fun watching the game. So yeah, if I keep looking off in the distance, that's why I got a football game. I'm watching the LSU Florida State game in the back, but you don't care. But back to what I was talking about, he becomes a one-dimensional villain where he just decides to essentially just destroy the world, essentially, with tsunamis and basically just tsunamis, because he's the king of the oceans, essentially. Or I guess he's all the elements, so I guess he'll also destroy it with, like, storms and stuff, but I digress. This would have been a lot more interesting if it was kind of made the twist of, like, the dragon, like, you're supposed to be, like, rooting for the Monkey King for some reason. I sure as hell wasn't rooting for him. I was rooting for him for one of the gods to stomp his ass into the pavement. And it would have been neat if they made it to where the Dragon King was actually kind of the victim in all this, because, you know what, he did just come in and steal his stick. It's an incredibly powerful weapon, but he did just come in and steal his property. So it would have been interesting if they had gone that route, where the Dragon King, all he wants is just, maybe if they'd written it to where the stick kind of powers his kingdom, and he took that, and maybe he was just trying to get it back to save his people, and essentially actually going all in, making the Monkey King the villain. That would have actually been pretty interesting, but of course they didn't go that route. They went the safe, generic route, because that's all Netflix knows how to do. They don't know how to take risks, and that's been shown in their movies and even their TV shows like Stranger Things. They don't take any risks. They go the safest route to make sure they don't piss people off or whatever, or they don't scare kids or something. I don't know. They go the safe, generic route. And one thing I will say, again, they didn't all of a sudden try to pull some kind of redemption arc out of their ass with this character. Speaking of pulling things out of their ass, the stick pulled a new superpower out of its ass whenever it felt like it. Like, for example, when they enter hell. Yes, really, they actually do enter hell here. The god of hell, essentially, I guess the Chinese version of Hades, or Satan, depending on how you want to look at it, he creates clones of himself to fight Monkey King, and then all of a sudden the stick says that he can create clones of himself, just out of nowhere. He apparently didn't know this already. Whatever. Like I said earlier, this is just the poor man's Hercules, and again, I don't even like Hercules that much. It's a very mediocre-ass Disney movie. I mean, it's better than the recent crap, but that doesn't really say a whole lot. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, I probably would have told you it was one of my top 5 favorite Disney movies, but not anymore. It's in the lower tiers. Not quite at the bottom, but it's down there. And again, because again, like, the slaying of the 100 demons is essentially just the 12 labors of Hercules, and that animated movie didn't even portray it as just 12 labors, just him beating up a bunch of monsters and raking in the glory, and that's essentially what happens here. And I guess the ending where he has to kind of, like, he's just stuck in like a mountain meditating for 500 years to try to like atone for what he did is an interesting idea, but the last 30 minutes of this movie, including the final battle, is some of the stupidest crap I've seen in a while. It's rivaling the final battle from Ruby Gillman. That's how bad it was. So that's all I got for Monkey King. This was bad. I think this might have been worse than Blue Beetle, because at least Blue Beetle had a decent performance from its lead actor, and the suit looked pretty cool. This one, I guess the kid who plays Lynn is pretty good, and I guess the voice acting from pretty much everybody is fine. But when your protagonist is such an unlikable piece of shit, and you don't do anything interesting with that, you shouldn't expect me to care. So that's all I got from Monkey King. I'm giving this a D+, because again, it had decent voice acting and had decent animation, but but it has such a terrible script and such an unlikable lead character. So that's all I got, and I'll see you next time. Bye.